Welcome to This Magical Life, where through heartfelt conversations, soul-lifting meditations, and inspiring stories, we explore what it means to live a life that truly nourishes the heart and soul. Join us in that fertile meeting place where psychology meets spirituality as we strive to make the world a better place, starting with ourselves.
Hello. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Happy New Year to you if you're watching live now or if you're watching a recording later. So let's just take a few moments to go into the meditation and let's talk a little bit afterwards. So you can go straight into the meditation or you can just listen and do it later or whatever you like. Let's just become aware of being seated here in front of our computers or laptops or phones. Fully present in our surroundings, but also able to perhaps close our eyes and allow ourselves to enter a deeper state of awareness. In that deeper state of awareness, we can imagine ourselves coming into a clearing in the forest. There's something about sensing oneself walking through the woods and then coming to a clear space, the clear space beloved of the Druids, because this is where Druids like to worship the stars and the trees and the earth, to be in tune with the natural world. And because it's open, it suggests clarity and tranquility. And just imagine that you've arrived in this clearing and you're sitting down, finding a place in the clearing, and it's very beautiful. And it's just the time of day that suits you, just the kind of weather that suits you. Just feels just good to be in this place. And whether or not you sense it strongly or see it strongly, it doesn't matter. Just touch your hands to the earth, feel the earth beneath you. And we'll take a few moments to tune into the earth, the soil, all the moisture and the creatures, all the life in this soil. In breathing in its energy, we can feel its strong energy flowing up into our bodies, bringing us strength and healing. Then we become aware of the roots of the trees deep in this earth. And we sense how alive they are and how those roots are connecting and meeting each other, and how the energy in the earth itself is flowing up through these roots. Physical energy in terms of moisture, but subtle energy too, blowing up the trunks of these trees that we sense around us. And we sense the peace and the power of these trees, these strong trees that are protecting us and bringing us a sense of stability. We sense their branches soaring up above us. Then we become aware of the sky above us, and we breathe in the energy of the sky. And the energy of the sky flows down into us, meeting the energy of the earth within the center of our beings. Imagine that you're gently opening your eyes in this sacred grove, in this clearing in the forest, and your eye is caught by a little detail just near to where you're sitting. It might be a flower, a single leaf, an insect. Just allow something to catch your attention and focus on it for a while. and just allow the beauty of this detail to really be present to your consciousness. And then move the focus of your attention to the clearing itself. In this kind of work, you don't necessarily need to feel things very clearly. You may sense them visually, or you may just get a sense. Most important thing is a felt sense of the presence, and just open to that sense of this clearing and this forest. Then allow your awareness to expand. Gradually include in your awareness the whole forest, the whole country, the oceans, and then the whole earth. And there's a way in which, in our consciousness, we can hold the whole earth in our awareness. Just as we can move our awareness outside our bodies and then hold our bodies in our awareness in a kind of embrace of love. So we can do this with the earth as well. We know what it looks like, this beautiful blue planet. So we can hold it in our awareness. And then feeling that love in our hearts, that love for the earth, we gradually move the palms of our hands to touch the earth, that we're seated on. And our awareness moves back to being seated in the sacred grove. And we ask that the earth is blessed. May peace prevail on earth. And then having that sense of the earth under our palms. Imagine now that you're bringing your palms up to your heart and just place them over your heart. And you might like to do that physically too, if you want to. A blessing on our lives, blessing on all life, a blessing on the land. And we gradually allow our awareness of the sacred grove to fade as we become aware of being seated here, fully present in front of our computers, our screens, our mobile phones, our tablets, just becoming fully present as we retain, hopefully, the sense of well-being that we've felt. And we keep it in our consciousness. Some people have emailed me and asked me for suggestions about how to handle the kind of feelings and thoughts that are coming up due to all that's happening all over the world. I think that's what these times call for, is they call for us to sit in the place of not knowing. We're so used to rushing for sorting things out and fixing things and getting solutions, which is, of course, really important. But in this case, for many of us, I think we have to be in this place of not knowing, and then to dig deep and act from what we feel is right and from our hearts, to be involved in the world in the way that we feel is right for us and for humanity, but without thinking perhaps that our perspective is the only one and the right one. So what I wanted to do was share with you a few ideas that I find helpful, introduced actually in this meditation. In this meditation, we went inside and went into the sacred grove. We focused on a small detail in front of us, a little flower or leaf or an insect. Then we went out and focused on the whole planet and held the planet in our love and in our hearts. What that's about is perspective. When crisis hits and things are really difficult, it's helpful not to have a fixed lens on your camera, but to have a variable lens, a zoom lens or whatever you want to call it, that can move from close-up detail to the big picture. So when you're well, this is what I do. And yeah, when I get bad news or things are worrying, I have the sort of the normal view, if you like, the seeing the picture. But then what I want to home in on a specific detail, either that's going to be a very pragmatic, specific detail, but also in terms of meditation or in thinking about any topic, it can really help. It's called chunking. It's where you focus on one thing at a time to stop yourself being scattered and your mind going everywhere. You focus on one thing at a time. It's really helpful when you feel overwhelmed and you feel you have too much to do. And there are just stacks of things on your in tray. It's very easy to get in a tears and worried about it. Actually, if you just focus on one piece of paper at a time, one job at a time, and work through it. So close up and detail. But then the other helpful perspective is to move into the broad perspective, the wide perspective. My approach is not to ignore the news, but to really study it. We watch quite a lot of news and commentary, and there's some extraordinary writing and very interesting commentary about it. I feel it's important to get the big picture. And by the big picture, I mean the historical, the broadest view, and the cosmic, to track back in your awareness, to see the planet here, to hold it in your consciousness, but then to see it as part of the galaxy, cosmos. I believe that there are many intelligences out there in other parts of the cosmos. I sense the whole cosmos as alive, as a manifestation of consciousness, as divine. That helps me to put things into perspective, not to go into denial about it, not to say that it's unimportant because it's just one tiny thing in a great big thing, but in order not to be swept up in the field of drama, which is reactive and often fear-based and angry. Of course, it's natural to be angry about the kind of awful things that we saw. Of course, it's natural to feel that way and to engage in activism that feels appropriate to try to change things so that one is upholding values, democracy, all that is good in the world. So I'm not suggesting that this idea of moving perspective is to ignore what's happening in front of you by attending to tiny little details or going into the big picture. No, not at all. But what I'm saying is, I think we really do need that ability to move our focus backwards and forwards. Even in looking at climate change, which is another whole worry on top of the other stuff that we're worried about, seeing vast areas of time certainly helps me to not be so worried, to tell you the truth. It's still deeply concerning, and I think one should still go into, oh, that phone call has distracted me. What has been discovered, that there's a psychologist, Barbara Fredrickson in particular, has discovered that positive feelings affect our perception. They literally affect our perception of things. When you experience positive emotions, you see more in the field. Physically, your perception changes. When experiencing negative emotions, fear and anger, your ability to perceive objects in the field is reduced. Now, that is really fascinating because what it's saying is, if something heavy is happening, something really difficult, dramatic, problematic, dangerous, whatever, you want to get the whole picture. You want to understand as many elements as possible. You want to see as much as you can. And the way you do that is not by being in negative states like fear, anger, loathing, jealousy, resentment, and so on, but to be in positive states of feeling so that you can actually function better and be of more use to yourself and other people. So in talking about changing perspective, I'm not just talking about an intellectual position. I'm talking about the way in which the flexibility in our perspective can actually change what's happening physiologically with us or what's happening in our consciousness with our physical perception. And it's also changing us at a physiological state as well. It's changing how our body feels. Another process I've observed is that when there are dramatic and problematic issues occurring in the world, um, the natural tendency is to go into reactivity, fear, and anger. But if I can go into my body, I work with sophrology system and mind body training that works particularly well with anxiety. And you do things like breathing in deeply, tensing on your muscles, and then going whoosh, like that, whoosh, chasing that away so that you're not contributing to that field, getting to some degree of calm and centeredness that still is caring and is not in denial, but is more capable of being of use and of acting positively in the world. So, and that's why I think Druidry is valuable, because it helps us to connect with nature, and nature can be immensely healing and helpful, and it helps us to connect to the spiritual and mythic realm with its healing power too. In addition to that, I'm also interested in sophrology, because sophrology is a system that works with the emotions, with the body, to address the issues of anxiety. And it works particularly well online. In the training I've done before with, say, psychosynthesis and psychotherapy, often face-to-face work is really needed to get the full benefit. Well, what I think is interesting in sophrology, because it's gentle and small physical exercises with breathing and visualization, can be taught online. I need to have projects to work on. And then I can focus again. I can look at what's happening in the news and the world and be attentive to that. I can go to the big picture to try and get the bigger context. And then I can focus down and work on particular projects. So I'm working on training people in sophrology, not only for their own benefit, but also to help other people. 4 courses of training take a journey of working with your own body, feelings, and mind. A 5th course that I'm working on as well is how can you work with other people and help them, and adapt that into whatever you do. If you're a mindfulness teacher or coach, psychotherapist, or you work with Reiki or some other kind of alternative work. It can be really easy to see this kind of stuff as new agey, as kind of selfish, working on your own agenda, meditating, tuning in, imagining trees and all this stuff as some kind of way of avoiding all the heavy stuff that's going on in the outside world. But I don't see it like that at all. I think we all know this. We know that when these difficult events happen, either in our personal life or with work, we can feel the impact on our bodies. We can feel it in our bodies, and it's not a good feeling and it's not healthy. To work with this is really important. Do we feel the negative emotions? Then let them go with positive thoughts. Could there be grief that could be acknowledged? I think that's a really good point, because what can happen is you can have negative emotion. You can have awful things happen to you. They come towards you, and you start to feel the grief and the negative feelings that happen. You go into denial, or you can't cope with it. Where does it go? It gets pushed down into the body or into the unconscious in some ways. Comes out in dreams, comes out in disturbed relationships with people, comes out in symptoms in the physical body. So, of the many ways to deal with them, one of the ways is to recognize them, process them. In other words, take them on board to the degree to which you're able, without any sense that you have to take on any more than you can cope with, because everybody has a limit and everybody's limits are different. You bring them into your consciousness as much as you're able, and then you have to find a way of it not having a negative impact on the rest of your life and on your body. So that's what sophrology does. So it has ways of releasing tension and then working with affirmations, visualizations, breathing and exercises in a very elegant and simple way. The risk with New Age approaches is that you go into the wide perspective too quickly and just hold the earth in your heart and think positive, loving thoughts without allowing the negative stuff. But of course, it's influencing you in some way. I think the art is to be aware of them as much as you can be, to be grief stricken as much as you can be, but to then allow that grief or that response to pass through you and to be freed and released. Did you notice in the meditation, putting your hands on the earth can be a tremendous way of releasing negative feelings, letting those energies just go into the earth. Um, and then if you are interested in sophrology, and I've found it hugely helpful in dealing with my levels of stress. I think bringing the body into our work is really important, but it's not for everyone. If it's not your thing, you'll soon realize if you read the blurb. But let me give you the URL for that and just see what you think. I have a lovely routine now. In the mornings, I make a cup of coffee, I switch my computer on, and I look at all the comments that have come in on the lessons and dialogue with whoever happens to have commented over the last 24 hours. So we've been a bit longer than usual, but these are difficult times. So I hope that you have a good week. Let's hope that over the next week, there is peace on the earth. May all the world be filled with peace and calm. So I hope you have a good week, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Lots of love, many blessings. Bye.